This is your barbell back squat. Let's take a look at how we set this up, and then we're going to take a look at the details of the form. So, first things first, we're going to make sure the safety bars are set up just below shoulder height of the lowest point of my good form squat. So I'm going to do a freestanding squat to see where the lowest point of my good form is using the mirrors, and then I'm going to set the safety bars up just below there. The J hooks are going to be set up just below shoulder height of me standing up nice and tall. So that way I only have a very minimal descent to be able to stand up and lift the bar up and out of that position. From this point, if you're going to use a bar pad, it's a great point in time to make sure you've got that on there. Then I'll make it a little bit more comfortable for your upper back and shoulders. A lot of people like to use it without the foam pad. That's up to you. Whatever's going to be better for your comfort. Then you're going to position your hands symmetrically apart. And you're going to use the rings on the bar to determine that. I like to put my pinkies right on those rings. Yours might be a little bit more in or out. Whatever they may be, just make sure they are symmetrical. And that way, you can plant yourself right there in the middle of the bar. Now, where the bar is planted, I'm going to take the pad off just to see it a little bit better. I want to put the bar in the meaty part of my upper traps, okay? You're not going to put the bar on your neck. You don't want to rest the bar on your neck up there. Your neck should actually be nice and comfortable with your head retracted back, keeping it in line with a nice neutral spine. So this means the bar is going to be resting on the meaty part of your traps there. Now with the bar gripped symmetrically, my pinkies are on those rings. I'm going to bring my elbows forward just a little bit so that my elbows are now in line with my sides. They're not too far back like this. I'm going to keep those elbows forward. My core is locked solid. This very first lift off the bar is kind of like my first half rep, so I'm going to make sure I'm dialed in with my form. Feet are planted solid, core's engaged steady, my knees are over my feet. I'm going to stand up tall with that good form. I'll take a couple steps forward. Now I'm ready to begin. So I will descend down into my good form squat. I'm going to drive up through my glutes with my whole core engaged. Feet are planted solid. Some people like to think like you're screwing your feet into the ground. Just think like you got all four corners of your foot planted solid into the ground, gripping onto the floor with your knees out in line with the middle of your feet. Don't let your knees come out too far there. Let me go ahead and turn that around so we can see the form this way a little bit. So as I descend into that squat, this is your good squat form you should have whether you're using a barbell or not. With a narrow stance, we're going to have our feet about shoulder width apart. And the toes are facing straight forward. That's the middle toes facing forward. And they can be about 10 to 15 degrees turned out. That's okay, but that's a very slight thing. Make sure your toes aren't turned out too far. But wherever your toes are, your knees need to follow that direction. So with the toes forward, we don't let the knees fade in, nor don't let those knees fade outside of your feet, but they stay right in the middle of your feet through the motion there. And then with the bar, I'm going to keep the bar actually right over the mid-foot there. So let's take a look at that here. So I'll do a rep here so you can see that I'm going to keep that bar balanced right over my mid-foot and drive through that point of my mid-foot through the rep. Now I'm also keeping my spine neutral. You should already have this dialed in. With the spine neutral through this motion, you kind of want to think about keeping two parallel lines between your torso and your shin or your lower leg. Torso and shin should be parallel through this motion as you drive up through it there. Now, as you descend further into this, depending on how low you can go with your squat, you should only go as low as you can still keep that spine neutral. If you have tightness in your hips that causes you to round your back pretty early, don't go any further than that. You should not have a rounded spine through this. Spine's up nice and long, and then depending on where your range of motion is, your knees may get to about right over your toes. They might even pass your toes a little bit depending on how low you're able to go with your range of motion. That is okay, again, as long as you have the range of motion to keep that neutral spine and your knees are stable enough to handle that pressure out there. If you're at that point, that's perfectly okay. If you need to work up to that point, then just simply limit your range of motion. You can kind of think about keeping your knees just behind your toes. Really think about using the butt to drive up until you can build up the stability and the mobility to get your knees and form that low into the squat. So with all that dialed in, let's do a quick review. Safety bars are set up just below the lowest point of my squat. J hooks are set up just below my shoulders at standing. Hands are going to be placed symmetrically. I put my pinkies on the rings. Bars on the meaty part of my upper traps. I'll stand up tall with that good form. Take a couple steps away. Now I'll check my foot form here. Make sure it's nice and screwed into the ground. All four corners of my feet are planted solid. I'm going to sit my butt back as I tilt my torso a little bit forward to let my knees bend, stay right in line with the middle of my feet, and then come all the way up tall. Sit my butt back, descending to my lowest point, squeeze my butt, drive it through the core, and stand up tall. When you're finished, walk up to those J hooks and descend with good form, nice and good form, set it back down on the rack, and you're done. That there is your barbell back squat.